Up the meeting then. Thank you all. Welcome to the full council meeting for the 14th of October. I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself.
Louisa.
Louisa Huffstatter, the Vineyard Gazette.
Hi, good morning, Louisa. If you are joining virtually, please press.
Hold
sorry.
on. Yeah, hang on, I got Kai.
Hey, Kai.
Kai Quigley, the Inquirer Mirror. Hi, Nat. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Kai. Okay. Is anyone else on there, Sean?
No, that's all I see.
Okay. If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard. If you are joining by telephone, press 9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Pursuant to Section 20, Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 as amended, poor council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because of their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All poor council members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by Zoom video conference app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken shall be by roll call. Okay, so is everyone good? We can open the meeting and I guess we can do a roll call of everyone that's here just before Joe gets there. So Gordon Carr.
Here.
Rob Munier.
Good morning. Here.
John Cahill.
Cahill here.
And Nat Lowell from Nantucket is here. And we're going to wait for Joe, but we have a quorum. Okay. Before we open up the meeting, I'd like to turn this over to Bob for a quick announcement on Bob Marshall's passing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, we need to begin today's Poor Council meeting on a somber note. I'm saddened to report the death of Robert Marshall, who served as this town of Falmouth's representative to the board for 11 years. Bob died on October 2nd, 2025. He was 85 years old, young. Bob was appointed to the board in January of 2003 and represented Falmouth ably and fully until December 2013. During those 11 years, an astonishing number of projects that are still relevant in our daily operations took place, including the construction of the island home, whom his wife Sarah Lee christened, the MVINO, along with the conversion of the Katama, Gayhead, and Sankaty by lengthening and widening them, and also part of the board for the reconstruction of the Woods Hole for the Oak Bus Terminal. Bob's expertise and dedication to the board and the Steamship Authority made the organization stronger as well as successful. Our condolences are extended to the entire Marshall family, and I ask you to join me in a moment of silence in Bob's memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, very much for that. And Joe, I see Joe coming in.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, it's okay, Joe. Thank you for that, Bob. That was good. And he will be missed. And, it's good that we can identify these situations the way we do. I really like that process. So first is the minutes of September 9th. Does anyone have any questions, additions, omissions, errors, etc.? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Gordon.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
John.
Disbury, aye.
And Joe.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. Management report on MV Monomoy, Bob, or whoever's going to give that.
Yeah, I believe Zach is on the Zoom. He'll be brought over.
You wanna say who's in the room while I'm doing that?
Oh, well, yeah, while Sean's doing that, so we're in Hyannis. In the room with us is, Mark Amundson, Terrence Keneally, a Barnstable board member, Bob Jones, Stephen Coleman, Janice Kennefic, Allison Fletcher, Courtney Olivera, Mark Rosem, Sean Driscoll, and as you previously pointed out, Joe Salito.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
So Zach.
Zach, can you hear us? You're muted.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
hey, Zach.
Good morning. All right. That's up. So the MV Monomoy, her conversion is still ongoing down at the Alabama shipyard. Since our last meeting, she's made away from the hard and she's now in the water, where she'll complete the rest of the conversion pier side. Here's a photo of her pier side with the bulwark and her house painted. This is a photo of her forward deck with the anchor windlass and the coatings complete. Here we have the forward bridge console, which is now intact. You can see they have some boxes that are covering all the new radar and transit screens to keep it protected while they finish components of the wheelhouse, the deck, and carpeting. The freight deck coatings are still ongoing. The inner bulwark, though, has been coated, and the fire extinguisher boxes have been hung. And here's the passenger space, which is just about complete. A couple overhead ceiling tiles to be finished as work is completed and final cables are pulled. So for the milestones for the Monomoy, the propeller shaft installation is now complete. Hull blasting and hull painting are complete. The vessel undocking is complete, and the stability test has been completed. And as we await Marine Safety Center's review of the stability letter, the stability documents, the incline test, our sea trials are still to be determined. And for a financial snapshot of the project as a whole, Quina, Barnstable, and Monomoy, payments made to date, 82.4 million. Current outstanding commitments and allowances are at 2.97 million, and the current project estimate at 85.4 million.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Zach.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Zach. Thanks for that. Anything noteworthy different from the Monomoy from the other two vessels? Anything, that is just, worth identifying as something that you either discovered or improved?
The major difference that we completed on Monomoy is the skeg extension. Beyond that, she's identical to her sister vessels, Quina and Barnstable.
Great, thanks.
What about the propeller pitch, Zach?
The propellers are unchanged.
So it's still going to have the pitch the same that we did with the other two somehow.
That's correct.
Okay.
The propeller pitch speed curves that are currently on a Quina and Barnstable will be applied to Monomoy.
And then just the only other thing I have is, I can't identify exactly what I'm
I know.
Zach, you know, the stuff that we found with the other two boats, like that, those gaskets on the keel coolers, some of that stuff, is that all being kind of
Yeah, so
gone over?
the vast majority of hurdles that we found on Aquina and Barnstable, we've made
Yep.
those changes to Monomoy.
Excellent. Okay. Sorry about my misspeaking. I know you know what I'm talking about, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gordon, sorry, got you.
Yeah, that's okay, real quick. Zach, the skate extension, does that change the draft at all on this one versus the other two?
No, the in terms of tonnage, it's a very, very small percentage.
And it's not any lower.
No, nope.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Cahill, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry about that, John.
That's all right, through the chair. Zach, how are we doing on the budget?
So the project as a whole changed from budget right now. We're at 4.4 million, which would be over for the project as a whole.
A lot? Is that a lot? A little? How much over?
Quick math.
Yeah, quick math, fine.
Sounds like 5%.
Yeah, approximately.
And that's for all three vessels, the purchase, the conversions, owner furnished equipment, personnel, to be down there and transit the vessel up and each vessel up, so.
Just like to add one thing, Zach, my understanding is the U.S. Coast Guard at Marine Safety Center is on furlough, and the project, as far as the analyzation of the stability, is on hold as a result of that.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything before we go on to the next item?
Thank you, Zach.
So the Martha's Vineyard dry dock status.
Yes. So Martha's Vineyard is down at Thames River Shipyard in New London, Connecticut, going through her her 2-year one of her 2-year dry dockings. And so here we have a photo, her waiting to go into the water. All of her underwater coatings are complete. Here is one of her propellers that we sent off to be dressed. Couple minor dings to the leading edge of the blade, so we had her fixed and dressed and reinstalled. Here's a stern profile, just to show everything coated and back installed. We didn't have to pull we only ended up pulling one shaft this time. We only had one cutlass bearing that needed replacement, and so we made the decision to pull the shaft and replace all 3 cutlass bearings on that one shaft as a whole, so that the alignment stays true. Internal, we had some steel renewals. We did steel renewals on the freight deck, as well as steel renewals in way of the galley deck. And some of the dry dock highlights for the Martha's Vineyard include hull coatings, bow thruster maintenance, main propulsion shaft bearing replacements, piping renewals, steel renewals, blast and coat of the hull and superstructure, and several pump and motor overhauls. And so a quick financial snapshot for the Martha's Vineyard dry dock. Currently, we're anticipating approximately 129,000 in credits. We are looking at approximately 75,000 in change orders. And that puts us right now at a grand total of 1.48 million.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for this?
Yeah, I have one, Zach, just on the steel renewal. Was that one of those cases of open and inspect and then determine what the scope was? And or were you able to pretty much identify that had to be done and understood the scope going in? I mean, it looks like you came out ahead, so that's a good thing.
So for the steel renewals that were captured in the presentation, those were known. So we knew the scope, and that was in the contract.
Okay. Thanks.
Just to add one thing, we had done the other side of the vessel in 2 years, actually it's 4 years previously. And in our gauging program, we have a look ahead, so we're planning at the next dry dock cycle. So that was a great job, Zach, on the budget, and great time. Good work by the team.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next item, Woods Hole Terminal project update.
Okay, that'll be me.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Excuse me, Bob, before we start, what's happening with the Woods Hole boat that was in dry dock with the propellers?
No, that's the
mean,
bonds.
No, was it the Barnstable? What was wrong with the
Okay, on the Barnstable, in an underwater survey, we were reviewing the cooler condition by the divers. We found that the 4 blades were there was damage on the leading edge of all 4 of the blades, specifically on the port side. We're still under review of where the damage happened. We have subsequently inspected the same other boats on the run because we've had some dredging and other issues where the vessel is operated. And we have inspected the Aquina, and they are clean, and also the MV Woods Hole, and those blades are clean. So right now we're under review of where that could have happened. We're out for solicitation to shipyards to replace the 8 blades and have them go out for refurbishment. Hornbeck Offshore, in an agreement, has allowed us they've lended us 8 blades to be installed on the vessel. So more to follow on that, but we're still out for solicitation.
Thank you.
Good, that's good news.
Just another example of the preventative maintenance. They're just checking the coatings and the discovered that, so. All right, Woods Hole Terminal project. So this is in the utility building, the employee area up on the 2nd floor. So the restrooms are being outfitted. Next. This is in the break room. It shows the cabinetry being installed, the countertop, as well as the ceiling materials being installed. Next. So on the 1st floor of the utility building, the entire floor there was an epoxy coating put on it to help strengthen that. Next. This is back up on the 2nd floor where there's a lot of wiring and utilities that go through this building. So they put in the ceiling panels above that to box those in. Next. So they're painting the steel beams, not only in the utility building, but also in the bottom left picture is actually the terminal building. Next. The emergency generator, the wiring for that is being installed. Next. And last week, the emergency generator itself was put into position. Next. So now we've moved over to the terminal building. The roofing subcontractor is installing the soffits and the fascia. Next. You can see the exterior stonework continues. They're getting pretty close to having the stonework completed. Next. This is showing, the bottom left picture is showing the raised concrete surface that will be housing the mechanical equipment in the terminal building. So that's up an additional 4 feet to get it out of the flood zone. Next. And they've already started putting up the framing necessary for the walls. And next. There were 3 geothermal wells that had failed and had to be re-drilled, and there's pictures of that. So it was both up in the employee lot and down in the staging area. But that drilling's been completed at this point. And next, just a view from the water. And so for the project itself, payments to date at $22.2 million. We have outstanding $14,156,000 for a total estimate of $36.369 million. With change orders, Colantonio was $1,116,000, or about 3.5% of the contract. Colantonio is about 65% completed overall. They do anticipate being able to turn over the utility building before the end of the year. And just as a follow-up from the last Port Council meeting, I think the ride share was added to the corner there of Luscombe and Railroad Ave. And that seems to be assisting, although granted it's now the fall, so. And we've sent out 293 emails for this project over the course of this project, letting people know what work's been done and what's coming up, so. Have any questions?
No, that's good, Bob. Does anyone have anything? Rob, I got you.
Yeah, one question, Bob. The 3 geothermal wells that failed, whose responsibility is that?
That's the contractor's responsibility.
Thanks.
Bob,
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
yeah, one of the questions I think that Ms. Taney asked is, because of all the design changes and COVID, how long has this project been delayed, and how much has it cost us because of these design changes and COVID?
Well, some of it's easier to pinpoint than others. In terms of the project itself, I think the original scope of the project was this would be done with this project at this point. So we're easily 2 years, if not 3 years behind. In terms of it, there was a change order that the board had approved for BIA to redo the design for the terminal building, which ended up being the 1-story model with the habitable utility building. That change order was, I want to say, it was just short of $1 million. And because we ended up turning the utility building into a habitable building, I think the estimate for that was about $2.5 million in additional cost for that, because with the elevator and everything else, the utilities that had to be put in that building. There's been some, we tried to, work with the community in terms of, making this a project that everyone at the end hopefully will be satisfied with. This is going to be around for the next 50 or more years. So,
Thank you.
Okay, everybody good? We'll move on to the reservation system.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you.
So as a follow-up, as mentioned at the last month's Port Council meeting, Adia was on site for approximately 2 weeks from September 23rd to October 2nd. During that time, they did a site visit to all of our locations. And we had some really in-depth hands-on conversations regarding items such as pricing adjustments, booking flows, the port operations reporting, integration with our payment gateways, the financial integration of importing this data automatically, what type of hardware should we have, and really a deep dive generally overall into their system and looking at our policies and procedures and how do we implement what's out of the box and what items we may have to adjust and what might have to have some potential adjustments in their system or configuration adjustments. But overall, all parties agree that it was a very helpful and useful site visit, some good team building amongst the entities, not only with the DIA and ourselves, but also some of our third-party integrators that we use. So we're very excited about that. We just got our hands on the sandbox where we're actually starting to build some of the system ourselves as far as inputs go, trips, routes, vessels, capacities. Which is very good. The best way to learn is to actually do it yourself. So we took the data collection, now we're inputting it into the system in the sandbox. And now that we have an understanding of what we're looking at and what our third-party vendors are doing, we'll start getting some scopes and SOWs about some integrations that we'll be bringing up on the procurement side, as well as hardware items that we'll need. And we will be having our next IT steering committee meeting on 10/20 at 2 p.m., which we'll be noticing in the next day or so. And so with that, Stephen, myself, Mark, Allison will be happy to answer any questions you guys have. And I believe Tom's online as well.
Boy, go ahead, John.
First question I have, I might have a couple more, but right off the bat, did they sign the contract?
We're narrowing that down and ping-ponging back and forth, and the ball, we just got it back and now we're hitting it back over the net. It's really about the last couple of things are we have some system testing as far as network penetration, things like that. And then dates on the definition of a couple of deliverables. And
Okay.
that's really, correct me if I'm wrong, Terrence, if I'm missing anything.
No, that's about where we are. So in fact, I just got it back to me. So I'll be going through it this week, John, and then sending it back over to my friends at Adia. And we're very close on it. So hopefully, touch wood, we can work out whatever we gotta work out this week, and I'll have better news for you at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? I mean, I think, go ahead, John. Jeez.
A follow-up, we were just talking about the new terminal. What'd be great for not just ourselves, but for the general public is if we could outline how we can use this new technology with the new terminal and what kind of benefits will be derived from it. It goes beyond just the software, but the hardware that we might be using. We can talk about it in the next steering committee meeting, but to think about a presentation that we could be made that sort of involves the new terminal.
Okay, Mark. Anyone else have anything? Okay. Next item, Bob or Mark or Allison, operating schedule changes. I know what one of them is, but I think there's more than that. So.
The microphone's right over there.
Thanks, Joyce.
Get your sign?
I do have my sign, yes,
Okay, good.
because no one knows who I am.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, gotta clean my glasses now. We're here to present a proposed revision to the 2026 late summer operating schedule for the Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket routes. This schedule covers a period of September 11th, 2026 to October 22nd, 2026. This past August, the Port Council and Board both approved the operating schedule for both routes. But following the August meeting, staff revisited the approved 2026 operating schedule and identified that the approved schedule was a reduction of service during the late summer schedules compared to 2025. Staff is now proposing that the 2026 late summer operating schedule mirror the 2025. The biggest change that you'll see is in the Martha's Vineyard route. It'll still be the MD Island Home, the Nantucket, and instead of the Governor, it's going to be the Monomoy and the Aquina. We're also looking at adding the reinstatement of the 2 daily round trips and the 1 optional round trip, starting with a 2:55 on the Vineyard route. This will bring it back to the same schedule as 2025. So that's going to include the commuter trip off island. That is very important for the island residents. And then on the Nantucket route from September 11th to October 22nd, there'll be the Eagle, the Woods Hole, and the Barnstable. The Nantucket route would see 1 change to quantity of availability of trips during this schedule. The Barnstable will operate 3 round trips Monday through Friday. Staff is recommending the modifications in the late summer 2026 operating schedule. Any questions?
Okay,
So you're gonna have 2 boats running 7 days a week, 1
Yeah.
boat running 5 days a week for Nantucket.
okay.
Which is what the schedule is for right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So can I just, Bob, this is where, sorry, you guys, I have to kind of sound like a staff person now when I talk about these things. Okay, I didn't know we were getting the Woods Hole for that cycle, okay? But regardless of that, Allison, I talked to Rich and Jay the other day, and then I talked to Rich again this past Saturday. Okay, this is working. This, first of all, it's working on the weekends. But I think we need to move to the freight boat schedule, so-called, on Saturday and Sunday instead of running it on the, what do we call it? The opposite, the Eagle. I don't even know what we actually call the schedule that we're actually using. Leaving at 6:30 instead of 5:30. Because there's multiple reasons why. Number one, the food trucks that are now getting a gift by not having any gas on Saturday morning are now getting in late when they could all get to Nantucket at, let's just say, 7:45 to 8 o'clock, right? Which is really good. And it also helps for other, as you know, Allison, weird delivery stuff happens on the weekends and after the summer, the strange stuff, you know, the furniture companies and the things that don't come in the summertime. So, but I didn't know the Woods Hole was going to be down here. I wasn't thinking about that. So that's thrown a wrench into my idea. Then you'd have to have the crew switch times. Ugh, God. I mean, these things just,
We'll take it.
I drill a hole in my cranium when these things happen because it's so hard to explain. Because they're doing it now with the just switching crews, period, because of the recency stuff and whatever else there is going on with that. But we certainly can't have one of the regular freight boats running on a Saturday and Sunday and not the Woods Hole. I mean, that's preposterous.
No, the Woods Hole would be 7 days a week. The
Oh,
Eagle and Woods Hole would be 7 days a week. The
No,
Barnstable would be 5 days.
I know, but the time
Okay.
on Saturday, though, I guarantee you the Woods Hole's running at 6:30. So
Yes.
can we make the Woods Hole run at 5:30 on
No, we'll be
Saturday
up
and
against,
Sunday?
no, the crew needs their rest period, so they wouldn't be able to leave at 5:30.
God. Okay. I guess I gotta drop it. It just seemed, I didn't know the Woods Hole was coming down here. I thought we were swapping with the Vineyard and having one of the, the other two, which it wouldn't make a difference then. You know what I mean? Pasture wise and all that stuff. I understand what you're trying to do. I'm just trying to make it work better for the people that are working and getting here earlier, you know? What am I supposed to say, Bob? Just be quiet out here, 26 miles away, just forget it?
Oh, this is being presented for information at this point. You know, this was in some parts an oversight on our part by.
Yeah, no,
presenting-
but I don't blame anybody for this.
presenting the
This is
schedules
fluky
without these
stuff.
trips on there.
This is
So,
fluky stuff. I understand.
So we will be advertising these changes, for any public comment. And then we'll come back at a later date.
Mr. Chair, we'd be happy to take the Woods Hole off your,
I knew that was coming from one of you. Oh my God.
yeah, I don't
I was
want to see
biting
you
my
breathe
tongue.
any more than you already are.
Wow. Okay, I guess we'll just approve. What are we doing here? We're just,
Again, this was for
it's
informational
not an
purposes.
approval situation. This is informational for this month.
At this point, yes, we'll be coming back at a future meeting.
You can think about
Okay.
it now. You can think about it for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
So
it's
drafting for
just,
public
I'm
comment.
just trying to, I'm thinking about right now, Allison, like what's going on right this second. Because
Right.
that's the schedule we're talking about in 1 year.
Yes.
And I just see what's happening fresh in my mind and it's working really good, except the Aquina is leaving at 6:30 instead of 5:30 on the weekends. And it's good for the trucks that are trying to get out of here. And also the cars on Saturday morning. I mean, we need to open up more car space on them first two boats, or at least on the 915 or the 8, whatever it's
Right.
going to be. That is, it's amazing. The demand in the morning is a lot. So, and they're doing a great job over here, shuffling things around and holding the Cape Cods and stuff like that. But I just didn't think about the Woods Hole piece. So I don't want to upset the Vineyard. I want to make the Vineyard happy as much as possible. For obvious reasons. Okay.
I trust you.
All right. So we can move on from that. We don't need to take a vote on that, right, Bob?
Correct.
Okay.
I do have one question.
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Rob.
Yeah, Bob, can you just outline the process to get this revision approved? In other words, you mentioned the notion of public comment and whatnot, and so kind of how does that play out and timing wise?
Yeah, so unlike last month when we came back and we had noted that some of the schedules, we had identified the wrong trips as being hazardous. It didn't change the trips that we were, had been approved. It was just a designation. In this case, we do have 2 additional trips on the Vineyard run and an optional 3rd trip. Again, the schedule mirrors what we're now proposing is going to mirror what we're currently doing. But we feel it's necessary to publish it. We'll put it in the newspapers and have it open for 30 days for public comment. And then at that point, we'll come back if there's anything from that we'll need to address. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is Mark's business summary.
All right, business summary for the month of August. Okay, so passengers carried for the month of August with both routes combined were up approximately 5.8% or just under 24,000 passengers, with the Vineyard route being up 4.8% and the Nantucket route being up 10.6%. Year to date through August, both routes are up combined 2.2% or just under 45,000 passengers, with the Nantucket route being up 4.4% and the Vineyard route being up 1.8%. Again, all these statistics are one way. Passenger vehicles carried for pickup trucks, cars, vans, everything along those lines. For the month of August, both routes were combined up 0.9% or 584 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being down 1.6% or 953 vehicles, and the Nantucket route being up just over 1,500 vehicles or 15.9%. All categories on the Nantucket route are up, while on the Vineyard route, the only category that was up was the excursion fare autos. Year to date, we're up 0.6% for both routes combined, or almost 2,300 passenger vehicles. Nantucket's down the Vineyard's down 0.7%, while Nantucket's up 8.5%. And the big driver, as we mentioned in the last couple of meetings, is the getting the schedule back to the capacity that was more similar to 2023. Last year we had two of the smaller boats, and this year we had the Woods Hole and the Barnstable running in addition to the Eagle. Freight vehicles for the month were down 3.9% on 377 vehicles. Both routes were down. The Vineyard route was down 4.8%. The Nantucket route was down 2.3% compared to the year before. All putting this together for year to date, we're down 254 vehicles, so 0.4%. Nantucket's up 2%, while the Vineyard is down 1.8%. Cars parked, all categories were up, all parking lots were up for the month of August, a combined 13.2%. The Nantucket route was up 1,300 vehicles, while the Vineyard route was up 2,100 vehicles. Year to date, we're up 1.8% or 2,100 vehicles. All right, trip summary for the month of August. We had 6 trips canceled for mechanical, 24 for weather, 18 for traffic, 62 for schedule, and none for crewing. Compared this year to last year, we can see in the purple the year-to-date cancellations for the mechanical is down almost half of what it was last year, and the schedule and crewing are down significantly as well. As requested at last month's meeting, the 2025 Oak Bluff trip diversions in August, we had 111 trip diversions. That was named, I forget the name of the hurricane, but we was there for 3 or 4 days for those trip diversions in August. And year to date, we have 192 trip diversions. Last year at this time, we had 42 in the month of August and 60 year to date.
Hurricane Aaron.
Hurricane Aaron.
Yeah, and I just ask a question at this point.
Sure.
How many people are usually on boats coming into Oak Bluffs during that time period, and how many cars? The reason I'm asking that is because with the embarkation fees, we're losing that money in Oak Bluffs because it's going to Vineyard Haven. Sorry, John, but that's a lot of money that the town is losing, besides the business community losing money just from people earning,
So we have to look at the days of the week it happened and the trips specifically that happened.
Yeah.
So if it was a Tuesday, the impact might not be as big as on a Saturday. So and then we have to look at what type of vehicles were. So the cars aren't really gonna affect the embarkation fee. It's just.
No, it's just the passengers
Just
that
the
are in
foot
the car.
traffic.
Is there any way we could figure that out at something, not to, if you can?
Yeah, let us get through the budget if,
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
So then what we can do is see compared to that trip, what it was from the year before and get a ballpark range, but it won't be.
Something before the end of the year, so I can make a report to the Board of Selectmen. Thank you.
We can do that.
I think we can also provide you that we're actually scheduling more trips into Oak Bluffs than we did 5-10 years ago. So there's an increase in the number of trips that are going there, so therefore,
We appreciate that. The more the merrier.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dan, I have one quick question before.
Go ahead, Gordon. Sorry, I was
Thanks.
on the phone.
That's okay. So Mark, just going back to, just so I understand, you don't have to go all the way back to the slide, but you were talking about how, because we're back at capacity where we were in 2023 versus 2024, does that sort of distort that year-to-year difference on
Yeah, so
the excursion numbers, right? like they're up 65% from 2024, but what are they up from 2023, right? Just, you don't have to tell me now, but at some point, just to understand if 2024 was an anomaly because of the depressed amount of capacity, just helps us as we're looking at, these numbers. Does that make sense? Is my question?
100%. So there's two factors. One, it was compressed versus 2023, and then in 2025, in addition to getting the Woods Hole back and the Nantucket Run, then you had the Barnstable, which is bigger than the Gay Head. So it's a multi-layered. And the categories that would have saw the drop would have been the cars that were in the general public and Head Start programs, because we do as you're familiar with, the bulk reservations first. And then we do the general opening, the Head Start program, then the general openings. Then after that, any space, when we made the schedule, those would have been the fill-ins that wouldn't have got their space last year. So, but we can get a 2023 compared to 2025. That's pretty easy.
Just so we don't overreact at 65% increases in excursion autos and that kind of stuff, right? Like that, those numbers tend to jump off the page initially, but I think under the sort of a broader timeline would probably level that out.
And in some of those numbers, we can see the schedule's been adjusted on the Nantucket Run, which we just talked about, where we almost gave Nat a headache with which boat was running when on the weekends. That previously we ran all 7 days a week with 3 boats. This year and in next year's budget, where one of the boats is only running 5 days a week. So matching the capacity and demand based on the schedule and the vessels we have as well.
Right, and that's my lack of sophistication on the effect of the schedule and the type of boats versus the numbers that we see. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
And I think we'll see some of that when we get to the September numbers at the end too.
Okay. Thanks.
Mark, can you put that slide back up? I just want to be sure I understand, because it jumped off the page for me.
It was slide
Which
3.
slide?
The slide that shows the excursion fares, being the primary up numbers and the rest either flat or down. If you look there.
Yeah, and you're looking at such a small number to begin with. And those, when you look at the order that the reservations were made, that the trucks were first, and then you had the general opening, where people booking, 8 months, 7 months, 6 months in advance. And after we adjusted the schedule, it's the shorter notice reservations were the ones that took the impact of when we reduced the Woods Hole from roughly 46 car spaces down to 38. So you're losing 24 spaces a day. Where did those go? So if you look at 24 spaces a day times 30 days, that's 720 spaces. And then you times it in each direction, that's about 1,400 spaces. And if you add up the numbers on the Nantucket Run, it's pretty close.
Okay, that is arcane. I think I understand.
But keeping it, simple math, and
Yeah,
that's just
but
looking at the Woods Hole.
I guess,
It made perfect sense to me, Rob. I don't know.
For my simple thinking, I look at this and I say the excursion fares, that's the thing that's changing in the positive direction, and that's because it's an attractive way of doing this, and whereas the standard autos are not. And I know when we get to the rate increase discussion, that is going to be a topic, I think, but that's all.
And a lot of times, not being an islander, but the history, talking with people, being in the reservation department previously, is a lot, like you look at our preferred space, you have a 1 day, a 7 day, and now we have a 30 day. On the Nantucket Run, they have the 1 and 7 day now, is that those are booked more closer to the vest than 6, 7, 8 months out, unless it's a medical appointment or something like that. So that would make sense also why those categories are going up as compared to last year. The space wasn't available outside of preferred space for them.
Kiddo, thank you.
Just if I can, so you're saying
Go ahead.
that just simply because we're getting more preferred or excursion rate paces, that's not the reason why we're having decreases in the regular fares coming across.
No, on the Nantucket Run, because those numbers are up, so that's what we're talking about. They're up 64%, but there was when the Woods Hole went to the Vineyard last year, that ended up losing roughly 24 spaces in each direction. Okay, so that space that you could book shorter term windows is now not available.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. You, we all set?
I got a couple more slides.
Okay, go ahead. No, that's good. I'm
I'll be
just
quick.
making sure, just checking on the questions in between.
Okay, financial snapshot. We had net operating revenues of about 22.6 million, which was above budget by 290,000. Just go over the highlights here. We had operating expenses of 11.9 million, which is below budget by 831,000. Putting this all together, we had a net operating income of 11.6 million, which was 1.3 million above budget. Year to date, we're pretty close to being on track for what we were budgeted. We're at 14.3 million, just under that, which is $355,000 above budget right now. So tracking pretty close to budget. The revenue side, for the month, we're up 290,000. Where we can see in the Vineyard route, they have a lot more volume. That's even though the Nantucket was up that amount, looking at the standard fare and the Vineyard kind of offset that. That's why the automobile revenue was only up $12,000. But you can see the breakdown of where the revenue was up for the month. Operating expenses for the month, we're down 831,000. We're down, some of it was timing on the maintenance expenses and on the general expenses, but overall it was a good month on the expense side. Month of September, so for the passengers, we're up we were flat, we're up 84 passengers for the month. And so here's the vehicles for September. You can see the Nantucket run more normalized, and that's where you're not having those boats run on the weekend, where the capacity is getting more in line to what it was the year before. But overall, we were down 1% for all vehicles for both routes combined. There's 646 vehicles compared to 2024, but we're still up year to date. So Gordon, that's where we're not running that one boat on the weekend, those 6 trips, that bring the capacity more in line. And that's why you're not seeing the numbers as being in September as compared to August.
Okay. Helpful.
Okay. I'm gonna hold my powder on all this stuff. This is good information. I think some of the things that we've discussed in previous meetings has been shown now, once we had this summit go back past from last year. When Mark talks about that we lost the Woods Hole last summer because of what happened with the Vineyard route, which I'm, by the way, never gonna forget that, like, ever. So that way, when I'm still here, I hope, when there's new people, I can continue to talk about what a great decision that was. But it also shows that cars make different decisions versus trucks. Trucks aren't going somewhere else. If they're coming here, they're coming here no matter how they're going to get here. But cars can make decisions to find an alternative way of coming here, whether they don't bring their car at all or they don't come to Nantucket, one or the other. So I think that was a good exercise, even though we didn't plan it that way. Okay, what's the next thing? The operating budget, Mark, or are we still on the business summary?
If you don't have any more questions, we can go to the budget. That's okay with everyone.
I'm good. Are you guys all set with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get started on the operating budget, just want to give an update what's happened between the last meeting and this meeting. And the presentation hasn't changed that much. But since then, we've had 3 budget open houses, one on Nantucket, one in Falmouth, and one the Vineyard, and we'll go into detail later. But I want to thank everyone who attended the meetings. The input was very helpful. We've had award of contracts for the Hyannis and the Island Home, which has reduced the net effect of the maintenance budget of about 200,000. Consequently, we've had to reduce the grant revenue proportionately. Also, we've added $150,000 for training and consultant training for the new reservation system in the budget, as well as we made some adjustments to some staffing at the Woods Hole Terminal, the Reservation Bureau, and cleaned up an accrual on one of the payroll accounts. But all in all, I think the net effect to the budget was about $125,000, $150,000 total. So not a big change in the overall budget since last time. So Courtney will start us up.
Good morning. 2026 operating budget assumptions. The baseline for 2026 revenue comes from actual traffic statistics from the previous 12 months, which is August 2024 through July 2025. Vessel dry docking and terminal maintenance expenses are projected and estimated up to 18 months into the future. The operating budget is based on the 2026 approved operating schedules. This, along with the manning requirements, drives the vessel payroll costs. The MV Monomoy is scheduled to operate in 2026, and costs associated with that vessel have been estimated based on information from the MV Barnstable and MV Aquina. This budget also includes costs for the new reservation system that will launch in the fourth quarter of 2026. Based on the assumptions discussed and input from management, we arrive at the following. Operating revenues of $152.7 million, operating expenses of $162 million, other income of almost $16.3 million, more than $9 million of which is being derived from grant funding. We also have other expenses of $4.3 million to bring us to a net income from operations just under $2.6 million. Significant operating expense changes between the 2026 budget and the 2025 budget are fuel costs decreasing by $295,000 or 2.5%. In 2026, we are estimating $2.86 per gallon versus $3.15 per gallon that was in the 2025 budget. Payroll taxes is an increase of $185,000. Pension expense and health and welfare for all employees is up a combined $660,000 in 2026. The largest increases are maintenance expenses, terminals increasing by $1.9 million, and vessel maintenance increasing $2.8 million. We have more details about the maintenance expenses on the following slides. We have not yet, sorry.
You switched your paper.
We have depreciation expense up $2.2 million and payroll expense increasing by $2.7 million. The payroll increase is the result of all union contracts being settled. This investment in part has already resulted in a 58% decrease in trip cancellations due to crewing in 2025. Next one. Here are the details on the two categories with significant operating expense increases. The vessel maintenance graph on the left shows the increased preventative maintenance investments we are making. Of the 20 million, 32% is going to the dry docking of 5 vessels next year, and 29% is vessel maintenance done during scheduled repair periods. On the land side, 7.6 million is budgeted for maintenance. 54% of that budget is for repairs to dolphins and docks. This includes preventative maintenance in addition to scheduled repairs of pier decking in Vineyard Haven and Oak Bluffs and a transfer bridge repair in Fairhaven. As I mentioned, projected maintenance expenses in 2026 include the dry docking of 5 vessels for a total cost of just over $6.6 million. The Nantucket, Eagle, Barnstable, Island Home, and Ino are all scheduled to be dry docked next year. By scheduling half of the vessels one year and half the next, we are able to keep consistency on operations and planning process. Additionally, a portion of the dry docking costs for these vessels will be covered by grant funds. Land side, we have just under $5 million budgeted for terminal, dolphin, and dock repairs. Projects include the transfer bridge and pier decking repairs I spoke of, and also repairs to the underdeck sprinkler systems in Oak Bluffs. Training and crewing expenses. Total budgeted for 2026 is $1.6 million. This includes new pilot and captain training to ensure manning for all scheduled trips. Additional AVs assigned in order to retain vessel employees and as a feeder system for potential new licensed deck officers. Vessel familiarization training, so all crew members have the ability to work on any vessel, and continued STCW training for all vessel employees. Cybersecurity and additional IT training continues, as well as our biannual training and development expo for all employees. Lastly, for the expenses is the distribution of payroll costs. As you can see, almost 44% of the total payroll budget, or $25.4 million, is for vessel employees. Next, Mark is going to present the revenue side of the budget.
So on the revenue side, it's basically the same as what we talked about last month. We see passenger revenue increasing about 1.3 million. The big thing to note here on this slide is the automobile revenue down about 1.7 million or 3.5%. And again, we're using the data from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025. But that 1.7 million is really being driven by the reduction of standard fare vehicles on the Vineyard route. Grant revenue summary, here, as we talked about last month with the adoption of the strategic plan, hiring a grant administrator, getting them involved with the the budget process earlier, working closely with our maintenance and engineering department and other departments. We're able to get more of these projects on the roadmap, get them on the tip, getting the permits, the grant application approved so we can spend this money. So overall, next year, we're expecting grant revenue to increase about $3.9 million. And here we can see that we still lose money 7 months of the year and make money 5 months of the year. The blue line is the aggregated net income or net loss for the year, while the bars in red and green show which month the monthly net income or net loss for each month. So again, as we talked about last month, key components from last year's budget was the schedules and the trips. We're starting to see the benefits of the strategic plan. We've received favorable rates on our workers' comp. We continue to invest in our training costs. We've settled the contracts. Consequently, we've seen a 49% decrease in mechanical trips. We've seen 63% decrease compared to the year before in the crewing and scheduled trips. Those are benefits of putting the SQMS, the strategic plan in place. We're going to be doing a new reservation system, which we're expecting to go live in the fourth quarter of 2026. We expect better and improved efficiency, better customer experience, more data driven. We also got to work not only the data, but make the velocity of data quick enough where people can get that data in a timely fashion to make better decisions. Getting data a year after the fact isn't helping you as compared to getting it while you need to make those decisions. So that's something we're working on, integrating our system with Power BI, Power Automate, and also getting it in a usable format so it's easier to understand for the people who get the data. The goal of the system is what's in the system is matching what's happening on the front line. We've heard complaints about people saying, I can't get a reservation, the boats are empty. We want these two systems, the system and the actual vessel, to be mirroring itself. That is the #1 goal in the system. And we don't look at these as expenses, but these are investments where we're starting to see returns on these expenditures. So that's the summary of the budget. Again, it hasn't materially changed since last time, and we'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has about the budget itself before we go to the proposed rate adjustments.
Does anyone have anything? I got a couple of things, but I'll wait. Is anyone else there? I'm not on gallery. What happened?
John had
John,
Sorry about that. Go ahead, John.
Thank
Got
you,
you.
Chair. Hey, Mark, when you have that automobile revenue decrease of 1.7 million, I knew you had mentioned how you got there, but could you remind us how you got to that figure?
Yeah, we're looking at the revenue. So what we do is we took the actual traffic statistics from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025. Then we take that and then put in the current rate structure that we have, and then we compare budget to budget. So
Approximately, what is that of that 1.7? What does that equate to in cars, less cars?
I'd have to get I don't have that exact data in front of me, so
Yeah.
I'd have to look that up.
I mean, that's a big number.
It is, and if you go back to the business summary, that the automobile revenue is down. I hope I didn't close the tab.
Mark, you're projecting about 3,500 fewer cars.
3,500 cars less.
Okay. Thank
And then
you.
in the bus, yep,
Okay, you all set, John? We'll go to
Yes,
Rob.
thank you. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, so following up on John's question, which I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by my question, and that is to what extent is the decrease in standard fare auto related to the cost of it or the price that consumers are paying versus some other demographic factor? In other words, that's where they're carrying the burden dollar wise. Is that enough to be dissuade them? I think to the point that Nat made about people making different decisions with their automobiles.
I don't, if you look at opening day when the general public makes the reservations, still been very robust. So for that demand, if you look at the price of the car or the increase in the car is the overall, say vacation manufacturing, housing and all that, the cost of a rental, it's a small percentage. If you look at how the Nantucket run, when the extra capacity came on, it was increased significantly when the capacity was there. And also we're going to see some slides in the excursion fare. I think it was more of a transition from, as people who live on the island more, the second home, whatever it may be, transitioning from excursion fare, from standard fare to excursion fares.
Yeah, I guess
And
I mean, I feel like Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket are two completely different animals. And
Mhm.
obviously, the money, where the money is in Martha's Vineyard. And,
So Rob, if you can give me a courtesy of waiting till we go to the fare adjustments. I have a slide that talks about, was mentioned at the board meeting about the amount of profiles that use the excursion rate, and I actually have the average and how many more reservations were made in comparison. And I think that might help with some of that conversation.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. Gordon, was that your?
Yeah, just more of a comment, just because it seems I can't help myself each time. To just underscore what Mark was saying about the return on the investments that we all decided to make in the last year's budget and the reductions on those mechanical cancellations and the staff cancellations, right? Like that was the argument and justification made to us last year was clear. I think we all got it, and I think that it needs to be underscored that I mean that was not an easy thing for all of us to sign on to, but that it clearly has yielded the improvements that were laid out to us and that we hoped for. So.
Well, with that, to just add to what you just said though, the recency, or they calling it something else on the chart there, familiarization, that is a new, I don't want to say a new thing, but it's newly identified. I mean, that has been happening by itself for a long time.
Yep.
But there was never emphasis put on that sort of term until the last, couple of years. So it all plays a role in the whole program of whether there's a cancellation, another boat replacing, coming in and running, like when the Sankaty plugs itself into the system automatically. Everybody knows how to run the Sankaty. So that's like really important. You know what I mean? We like what we just talked about earlier today about this weekend stuff versus during the week. There's part of that is due to recency with enough people knowing how to run the Barnstable. Well, the Aquina is the same boat, so they didn't have to be on the Aquina to be recency when the boat's the same. You see what I'm getting at? Like it's kind of there's a lot of moving parts to make these numbers like this. But one of the things I want to bring up real quick is this whole canceled trip stuff, how we, whether it's mechanical, whether it's weather, whether it's something else. That is good that we have, and we need to drill that down even more so that we have answers when there are things said that are not actually accurate. So we have a response and we have those statistics to prove. It's just like baseball. They didn't have all these statistics pre-World War II that they have today. They know what you did with 2 outs and a man on third for your whole career now. It's crazy. So we have to have that too. because otherwise we don't have a way of responding when it's mechanical, when it's weather, when it's a consolidation trip, those kind of things.
Wins
So
above
I think-
replacement, right? That's
So
what
I
we.
think they're going in the right direction with all this stuff. It's just that the reasoning behind it is important to understand. Okay, so Mark, you want to move? If anyone, if nobody, oh, go ahead, Joe. I can't see it. Go ahead.
That's okay. One of the questions that came up at the budget hearing is, what is the function of the Port Council as to the budget? I know we the financial, do we take over the position of the financial, Terry? This might be for you. Do we take over the position of the financial advisors that they had years ago before they changed the statute in 2000?
Yes, Joe, that's primarily the role of the Port Council is the financial check and review and recommendations to the board, so.
I was just looking, that was the question that I asked.
Yeah, that was the natural progression from the.
And then we make
finance
that
committee
recommendation to the Board of Governors.
That's correct, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. Well, you drifted back a few years, Joe. All right. So are we good now?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Okay. So we'll go to the rate adjustments, Mark.
Yes.
You want to vote on the,
Just do it all at once at the end.
do two votes?
Yeah, two votes, two separate votes, because they're kind of intertwined.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. No, not a problem. And again, like last month, we want to go into some of the KPIs that are driving our recommendation. Here we can see the investments in maintenance expenses from 2021 to 2026. No, it's a simple equation here. We got to keep the boats running. You know, we got to make sure they're maintained and they're crewed. That's our core operation. Here we have budget training expense. Again, we went from 462,000 in 2021 to 1.6 million in 2026. We need qualified people on the vessels and throughout the Steamship Authority, whether it's operating the vessels, whether it's looking at the data, making decisions, or it's on the customer service side. Everyone in our organization plays a key part, and we got to make sure that we're giving them the tools necessary to succeed. IT expenses. Here again, we're going from 1.5 million to 4.6 million. That's where we're going to start seeing more benefits to the front-facing customers with the velocity of data, the ability to see what they actually want to book and get those reservations in their hands. That's what we're expecting from the reservation system, as well as automation of moving the data into and out of other systems like the accounting system. So here's the same as last month. We have net operating income of 10 million, just over $10 million is what we're shooting for. We have 2.6 before the budget adjustment for the proposed rate adjustments. We're looking for about 7.4 million, of which 4.4 would come from the Vineyard side and 3 million would come from the Nantucket side. Here is, this is by category for each route. 1.8 million would come from passenger fares, which is about 24% of all the proposed rate adjustments. Excursion fares, which haven't gone up since 2021, that would be 490,000 or 7%. We have a couple new slides to go over a couple options on that. We have standard fare vehicles of 1.8 million, which is 24% of the overall proposed rate adjustments. Freight, just under 2 million, which is 27% of the overall proposed rate adjustments. Parking and permits would be 1.3 million or 17%. And miscellaneous charges of about 78,000 or 1%. That's barge, bikes, and things of that nature. Overall, we're looking for roughly a 5% rate adjustment across the board, with some market adjustments specifically here in the Hyannis rate for the parking, which we'll see in a future slide. So here's the, similar to last month, standard fare vehicles would roughly see a 5% increase, and we have a slide for that, but that would generate 1.2 million. Excursion fares in the off season would go up $1.75 per each route. That's from January 1st to May 14th, and again, September 15th to 12/31. And as well as the summer at $2.75 from 5/15 to 9/14. We have passengers going up 5%, which is 50 cents for the adults, 25 cents for a child, and all the other categories will go up accordingly. That would generate just under 1.1 million. Daily fee parking, we'd have two rates, a $20 rate and a $25 rate per day. that would generate $760,000. And then the parking permits would generate another $129,000. Here's the categories for the standard fares. I'm not, everyone I'm assuming here can now just look at the data and make their own decision here. I'll be going through each line. But all these equate roughly to 5% adjustments. Okay, on the Nantucket route, we have standard fare vehicles would generate roughly 600,000. The excursion fares would generate 140,000 roughly. In the off season, it would be $4.50 per leg, and in the summer season, it would be $6.25. And as a reminder, this includes the 2 adults and 2 children on the excursion fares that's included with the car price. Passengers on the high speed would generate 497,000. One way would go up $2, while the same day round trip would go up $3, and the other categories would go up proportionately. Conventional fare would go up 5% at $1. The children would go up 50 cents. That's 235,000, and the parking permits would be 17,000. Yeah. Here are the standard fare rate adjustments that are being proposed. And here are the Hyannis parking rates where, so we have rates currently right now as low as $5 a day, which is below what the other parking lots in the area are. So we're looking to adjust them anywhere from $10 up to $25 per calendar day. And here's a breakdown of each parking fare category. Okay. As we talked about last month, and we talked about at the open houses, the excursion fare hasn't increased since 2021. We're looking at the program, the qualifications. We understand the importance of the excursion fare program and making sure it's used the way it was originally intended to be used. It's not to help the year-round, it's to help the year-round islander. It's not to subsidize businesses or for second homeowners. We want to make sure that the program stays intact and it goes to the target audience that it needs to go to. And the island residents, they do have extra logistical travel issues that people on the mainland don't have. But here we can see on the Nantucket route, the excursion fare autos account for 32% of the cost of traveling, while the standard fare accounts for 148%. On the Vineyard route, it's 26.6% and 125.9%, to put a comparison. Okay, and this is the same slide as before. Really quickly is the revenue, the excursion fares account for 10% of the revenue and use 30% of the spaces on the Vineyard route. On the Nantucket route, it's roughly that same 3-to-1 ratio of 5% of the revenue and 15% of the spaces. Meanwhile, the standard fare autos account for 60% of the revenue and use 42% of the space on the Vineyard, and similarly on the Nantucket route at roughly 40% and 25%. And here's, we can see the change in the distribution between the excursion fare and the standard fare. So pre-COVID, it was a 39% or 38-62% distribution. Now it's 41.5% to 58.5% distribution between excursion and standard fares. Next slide. On the Nantucket route, we're similar. We can see the percentages here. That now we've crept up from 34% up to 37% as far as the percentage of excursion fare usage. At last month's board meeting, I was asked to, or we were tasked to look at how many profiles were using the excursion program. So back in 2019, on the Vineyard route, we had just under 8,800 profiles or accounts using the excursion fare traveling on it. And in 2024, that number's jumped to just under 9,500, or an increase of 8.1%. On the Nantucket route, that number went from 4,070 to 4,346, or a 6.8% increase. When we looked at the data more, and surprisingly, the actual pattern that people are using hasn't changed. On the Vineyard route, they averaged in 2019 11.1%. and 11.1 trips per year. In 2024, it's 10.9. So it really hasn't varied very much. And the Nantucket route, it's 3.7 to 3.7. So there's, people are still using the excursion fare in the same manner, in the same quantity. We just have more people using the excursion fare. So when you take these two data points together and you multiply them out, we went from 97,000 excursion fare travel in 2019 to 103,000 in 2024, an increase of 5,800 reservations on the excursion fare, where some of those are at the expense of the standard fare. And then you look at the Nantucket run, we went from 14,900 to 15,900. So that's a 6% increase on the Vineyard route and a 6.8% increase on the Nantucket route. And again, as we talked about, we're really getting good data, dissecting it, looking at different ways. But as we mentioned before, 62% of the people, 68% of the people on the Vineyard route use the excursion rate less than once a month. And that accounts for 35.5% of the usage. We have 92% of the people use the excursions 2 times or less a month. They account for 74% of the usage. What does that mean? 8% of all the people using the excursion rates use 26% of the excursion fare travel. So that's something we talked about at the open houses. We had good feedback in, and possibly with the new reservation system, looking at a way of tiering that in to address that 8%. And on the Nantucket route, we have similar statistics on that as well. And again, we really do understand the importance of these programs, and we want to do everything we can to keep these rates as, help the island residents travel as much as we can. So here's an alternative, a couple alternatives for the excursion fare. We were asked at the Port Council last month in the board meeting to look at this. So in the top line for Martha's Vineyard, that's what the current rates are. The second line is what's originally proposed. The third line, what I call a 3-tier flat, 5%, is we take what January through March, we keep the same adjustment as we had. We took a blended average of the excursion usage rate from April through May 14th and came out with a blended rate, April through the end of May. And it would come out to a $41 excursion fare for each segment from April to the month of May. Then we'd go to June and August to $55.75, and then from September 1st all the way to the end of the year would be $41. So what we did again is from September 1st through December 31st, took the average, the revenue we generated divided by the amount of excursion vehicles, and then came up with a blended average of what that fare would be with the adjustment. The bottom line is taking no adjustment for the excursion fares January through March, and then adjusting the rates in where more of the excursion fare would go in the summer month, where it comes out. Both option 2 and 3 are revenue neutral compared to what we originally proposed. Then on the Nantucket route, we looked at the same example of taking a blended average of the fares from April through the end of May, where instead of changing on May 15th, it would stay to the end of the month of May, and each excursion fare period would be at the end of the calendar month versus the middle of the month. And then we do the same thing from September 1st through the end of December. Or we could go with a model that we, in the 3-tier adjusted on the Nantucket route has a typo on that $59. That's not correct, so I apologize. That's a cut and paste from the Vineyard rate. So, but those are what we're looking at, and I'll get you that rate in 1 second, of different rates for the 2 islands of ways of attacking the excursion rate. And again, here's a chart showing where all the revenue is being generated from that we went over before. So 7% would come from the excursion fares, 24% from the passengers, 24% from the standard fares, 17% from parking, 27% from freight, and 1% from miscellaneous. And again, here we can see now we lose months. It's a 6 and 6 split. We lose money 6 months instead of 7, and we have a net income of 6 months instead of 5 previously. So what we've done since the last budget presentation we had for the Port Council, we have conducted 3 budget open houses. We had 1 attendee on Nantucket, 2 in Falmouth, 21 in person on the Vineyard, I believe, and there were some people on the Zoom, which I don't have that amount. We had good feedback from the people at the, and we appreciate the feedback we received. People were asking about the amount of the vessel repairs on the new vessels, the continuation of R99 from the pilot program. How would the parking rates adjust, if adjustments impact the Falmouth neighborhoods? Looking at, people concerned about making sure they have the ability to make reservations. So those were some of the main topics that we had discussions about at these budget meetings. Looking at also the impacts on the schedule, as we're seeing here that with the data and the new vessels, we're going to be able to become more efficient. So right now on the Nantucket run, we've eliminated 6 trips on the weekend, but to bring that efficiency to the next level, we got to look at the traffic patterns and usage where we have empty trucks leaving Nantucket in the morning, getting those to travel later in the day and making that space become more available for island residents. These new vessels and platforms will make, we have to reevaluate all the data to make sure that we're optimizing our deck space. On the Nantucket run, we're seeing making the Eagle have more frequency of having 4 lanes available for cars instead of 3 with the mixed loads. And we want to do the same thing on the Vineyard run, is making the Martha's Vineyard have more routes available where the Martha's Vineyard has 4 lanes for cars instead of 3 for mixed load. Making sure we preserve the island home to be able to use the lift decks, but not adversely impacting the freight as well. So we're going to look at the systems and the platforms we have. We're looking at as we've seen the excursion fare program, evaluating it. We have a couple different options of how we can add a 3rd tier. And one of the benefits, no one likes rate increases, we understand that, but we can move the excursion fare from changing instead of May 15th to the higher rate to June 1st, is also moving it back from September 15th to September 1st to better match our capacity numbers for our customers. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Mark, could you go back to the slide where you looked at the Martha's Vineyard excursion rates? And
Those were one direction, I think, John, the way he had it up on the screen,
Right,
I think. I don't want to speak for Mark, but I believe that's the case.
right.
Yes, that's one way.
Yeah, but my question is, obviously we've been through a number of meetings, you, Jim and Joe and I, and I've attended the public hearings. What would you recommend of these choices would be the smartest move?
My personal, I would recommend the 3-tier flat. So we're basically doing the same thing we're doing now, but we're blending the revenue and the rate from April 1st through May 31st and increasing at the same percentage as the rest of the year. Then we're also doing that from September 1st to December 31st. The benefit is that we're allowing the window of travel to go all the way to May 31st at the lower rate. And also moving that September 15th date to September 1st.
Yeah.
My preference would be the 3-tier flat. I think next year when we look at the program as a whole and look at the tiering of the usage as an option, that'll be most likely a percentage of what the standard fare is. And this will keep it, that recommendation would keep it similar to us now, but I think we need to look at more overall and holistic of the program itself.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm sorry, John.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, the question I have is, to put it more simply, would it be like $73 now in the winter time for a round trip?
Correct.
And we pay 106 in the summertime?
Yes.
What are the figures gonna go up to from 73? And what are the figures gonna go up to 106?
So the $73 would then go to $76.50, a $3.50 increase.
Yep.
And in the summer to go up $5.50.
So basically, it's about 85 cents if you.
Yeah, so we looked at the numbers and got the average revenue and the average, but people use it 11.1 times would be under on the Vineyard route, under a $50 adjustment for the uses they use.
So it's gonna be 76.50 and 115 something. The other question I had is, when the people travel from the Vineyard, we get 2 adult passengers, we get 2 children.
Yes.
What is the cost of those passenger tickets?
So the adults are $10 a piece and the children are $5. So when we do the cost analysis, we only factor in the adults, not the children.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the cost of service, we take the $36.50 minus 2 adults at 20, which would be $16.50.
So what's the actual cost of getting a car off of the vehicle itself?
The vehicle in this case would be $16.50 of the $36.50 if you factor in
So
the,
it's 32 something to get a car back and forth.
yeah. But all, yeah. And so on the Nantucket, Ron, on that slide where I had the typo, and again, my apologies, that should have not happened. It was $134 in the peak season on tier 3. If you go down the slide, Sean.
I did.
Oh, sorry. So instead of 59 June through August, it would be $134.
Instead of 129.25.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. So that would be 134. My apologies.
Yeah. So, Mark, I don't mean to interrupt you. I can't see everybody because we're on your screen share. Does everybody understand what he's talking about the 3 level? You guys got that? John and Joe especially. Okay.
Yeah.
This is something that, been trying to jiggle into the system for years. And I've never agreed with these weird dates like May 15th. What is this May 15th? I've never understood this magic date. And then we got the magic September 15th. This year we had 2 weeks of waiting for the lower rate because of the calendar, moon, whatever the hell causes all that. Football starts on the wrong Sunday. Whatever it is, right? And it's like, okay, so what are we doing? So this is a good analysis, and we really needed to kind of get this exercise done regardless of anything. I think this was a good thing for the steamship to work on, regardless of whether it's a rate increase or whether it's just something we should be doing anyway. We don't use the excursion in the core of the summer that much. Not that is of any real relevance, but it also allows for people when they pick up their kids from school or there's a lot of different things that go on in May to the beginning of June. You know what I mean? That are kind of island related things. So this is giving a little bit back to the local community while tweaking the costs, but giving back some benefit, not just saying, okay, we're going up, have a good day. So I think that this is a great exercise.
And doing a calendar month makes it easier for people easier to realize that first quarter is this, then these months are this, these are that, versus, the middle of the month when it switches.
Okay, and then I don't even know if this is really the right time to bring this up, Mark, with the new system, but the new system allows for sort of a lot easier sort of date stuff, I think, as well. And also we need to discuss those half full trips that you can't fill, regardless of whether it doesn't matter. There's trips that are not going to be full on both islands.
Sure.
And working on a way to get more cars on those trips is something that I think we should be looking at over the next, year.
Yep. So to answer your question, Nat, so the new system you'll be able to price specific trips on specific days that we currently don't have. So for instance, on the Vineyard route, the 9:30 trip leaving the island is pretty empty. It's the trip of last resort, unless you really have to travel at that time. We could discount that trip to look at moving travel patterns, where some people have more time than they have funds available. So they may be willing to have travel at a worse time if there was a price associated with that. Also on the excursion rates, the new system has they refer to it as subscriptions. So we could say, all right, if you're an island resident in this program, you get a subscription of say 12 reservations at this discount. The next 12, like using Gordon's term, was the Lifeline versus the excursion program. So you could have 12 at a Lifeline, 12 at an excursion, or 24, whatever it may be. So it gives us different tools in the toolbox, and then everything on that bundle in the cart would be at that discount rate. So if you have one adult, you're not factoring the two adult, two kids, you're paying for what's traveling. So we can look at that as well.
And then,
Okay, so.
go ahead, Joe. Is that Joe? I can
Yeah, I
hear you.
just had one other question. So in other words, at that $2.50, that's what, $1.75 each way,
The $3.50, $1.75,
each way, and in the summertime it'd be.
$2.75
$2.50, $2.75
each way, $5.50, yeah.
Thank you.
Are you
Right.
looking for a vote?
Thanks for that explanation, Mark. I won't ask any more questions or bring up any more stuff about all that. Because that's gonna be a future agenda item of discussion, some of that sort of off-peak stuff, I guess would be the term to use, like airlines do, and then coming up with something for one-way tickets for locals as well.
Yep. And we want to focus on the new system, our efforts and our funds, not the old system that'll be going away. So some of these things the old system doesn't have, and to put any programming changes in doesn't make any sense.
Yep, exactly. Thank you for saying that. Okay, does anyone want to make a motion? Oh, no, wait, we got two different votes, correct?
Yeah, I think Rob has a
Sure, I
question.
think-
Okay, Rob, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just was trying to continue the conversation a little bit on some things that I'm not 100% clear on. I understand those fare alternative are revenue neutral, is what I understood you said. So what in sort of in the big picture, what is the excursion fare net new revenue? What's the percentage there? And how does that compare with the other net revenue increases for the other categories?
So as a percentage increase on how much you're paying, it's similar to what the passengers are paying or the standard fares, roughly 5% with rounding. Okay, as far as the overall income, because the base number of the excursion revenue is smaller, it's accounting for 7% of the overall increase compared to 24 for the standard, but the base revenue is much higher on the current standard fares.
Okay. So I guess I go back to, the discussion we had last year on the same topic, which was that, obviously I totally understand the importance of the excursion fare, but it just doesn't feel like it's keeping pace with the increases across the other categories. Is that a true assessment, or is something wrong with that assessment?
This year it should keep pace with the other categories because it's going up the same percentage. And then looking at with the system enhancements, a goal would be to peg the excursion fare as a certain percentage of the standard, whatever the board and port council decides that is, and that's the number. So if the standard fare goes up X percent next year, then everything just correlates with it as well in the future.
Yeah, I guess I would potentially argue that because we haven't had a rate increase in the excursion fare for a handful of years, it's lagging in terms of its contribution to the overall total. Is that a correct assessment, or is there something wrong with that assessment?
No, it hasn't gone up since 2021, and it was factoring in inflation during that period, which is roughly 20%. So you'd be looking on the Vineyard side would have a $7 increase instead of the $1.75.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were to look at total increases over the 5-year period. Excursion.
I think the number, if you guys don't mind me interrupting you for a second, I think the most important number to look at when you start talking about excursion one way is the cost of service analysis number. When you look at how much does the excursion pay cost of service on the Vineyard route versus the Nantucket route in the one-way car, I think that's the best way to answer your questions that you're asking right now, instead of getting into pennies and we didn't raise it before and all that. I mean, that's really about the Flathers report side of it that makes it make sense. So it's 30, whether it's 37, whether it's 39, that versus 120 versus our routes like a 140 something, that stuff needs to be tied into the overall. You want to sustain those numbers. If it requires $1 increase to keep it at 37% cost of service, for example, on the Vineyard route, then that's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, I guess the argument would be, is that the right percentage? What is the right
Well,
percentage?
that goes back 25 years, 20 years, Rob. Like, there was never a number that was like
Yeah, I guess,
targeted. It just happened by itself, and they never even tracked it until 20 years ago or
yeah,
so.
no, I understand. I guess, if we think about that, this is the first increase since whenever 2020, 22, whatever and then next year we're going to lock in a percentage against the standard fare. That's a significant, I would say, disconnect between the contribution from the excursion fare versus the standard fare that gets locked in. In other words, we haven't done anything to try to kind of correct that imbalance, except for this year, a modest amount, which effectively isn't correcting anything because it's the same percentage increase across the other fare categories. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yep, that is correct. So if I may, so this coming year, as part of the change management in the reservation system, we're going to be coming to the Port Council Board with policy changes. A significant amount is that if we set what the ratio is to excursions, a standard, what the discount is as far as a policy, and we maintain that, it's kind of like we do for the replacement fund, that it's what the previous year's depreciation, that is the number that is set for it to be, is that we either set it as a percentage of cost or a percentage of what the standard fare is. And when you come to the budget, that's what that number has to be, is a more encapsulating view of how to look at the program with the new system.
No, I understand that. I recall having this same conversation last year, and the proposal was that we would sort of move to correct that this year. And essentially what you're saying is we're going to have the rate change as proposed this year and move to correct this next year. So I guess the question is, can we rely on that? Because it doesn't seem like anything happened this year.
You got to move. You know what you got to do, Rob? You got to think of Fenway, right? Or the Boston Garden, the old garden, right? When we had obstructed view seats, and actually set it on the ticket. So you had to kind of get out of your seat, walk down a few stairs to see the scoreboard, right? Those seats are cheaper, but we still need the revenue from those seats, right? Just like the boats. If we can fill
No, I understand that.
boats that aren't utilized as much for many reasons, it's not anyone's fault for those trips, those deadhead trips, that it's better to have 5 more cars on those boats for less money than it is to have none. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very complex, we don't want to get overboard with this, is because they've changed the way they've figured this stuff out since the islands separated budgets in the big budget. You know, how they separated the cost of service, which is a fantastic thing to do. They never did that. That was not being done a long time ago. So,
no, I understand. I guess I look at the standard fare revenue going down.
Well, there's other reasons for that.
I know, I understand that. I hear the explanations, but just in the biggest picture, the standard fare revenue is going down because that's getting potentially a contributing factor is it's getting very expensive. And the excursion fare use is going up because it remains, a hell of a good deal. And so it's kind of like a spiral.
Well,
if you would look at it, just those simplistic numbers.
Part of the reason that the standard fares cars are reducing is because the vehicles that the seasonal homes have are on the islands more. They're already parked in there.
I understand. There's lots of explanations to that.
Been going on over here for a long time now.
Yep.
And the Vineyard is just catching up to Nantucket in that department a little bit. But anyway, Mark, Bob and Mark, are we looking for a vote on the operating budget draft and then on the rate adjustment separate? I think you said that.
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. Can I just ask one other question? This is about the operating budget side of this equation, and that is, what's your projection for the net income at the end of this year? I think we know where we are up until, the most recent month. It sounded like we were very close to being on budget. And I guess my question is, what do you think the net income will be at the end of 2025? And how does that compare with the net income you're proposing under the rate adjustment?
It's gonna be off the top of my head, pretty similar. We're pulling that up, as I mentioned in the, business summary, they were about $350,000 ahead of budget. Right now, so I believe we're gonna be coming in at, right around 10 million.
10.7.
10.7, so a little bit ahead of, where we, forecast this budget.
Okay, so we're gonna have a good outcome this year,
We.
based
still
on the
have 3
current
months-
cost structure.
Yeah, we still have 3
Sounds good.
months left, and this weekend, I would not knowing last October's revenue, I would expect this October revenue to be down, based on this past weekend.
Yeah.
This
We
was
had that.
a key weekend,
Yeah,
for
that's
budgetary
understandable.
purposes.
Yeah, he's right about that. Okay, so anyone want to make a motion to endorse or vote in favor of the operating budget? However, we're
Vote to
gonna work.
recommend.
Recommend. Okay, is
So moved.
there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Gordon,
Hi,
Rob,
Aye,
John,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And anyone want to make a motion on the draft, on the rate adjustment draft? Wait, one thing. Mark, is it tier 3? What was the one we're saying?
Call it
What was-
the blended average. Just call it the blended average for May through.
That way
April
that
through May.
gets, we got to make sure we have that.
5% flat is the one that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
blended average, yeah.
5%, yeah.
Okay.
5%.
So with that,
And
so with that language for what we're actually saying yes to, I just want to make sure we get that right in the minutes. So with that, somebody want to make that motion?
So moved, and that means it goes from the 3rd to the 31st of May, and begins on the
Yes,
1st of
the dates
So you
are all
have-
there.
January through March, and April 1st through May 31st date,
Yeah.
then a June 1st to August 31st
Date.
range, then a September 1st to 12/31.
That's so moved on that.
Okay,
So what we're moving on now is the 5% flat, correct?
yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
we're leaving that to Mark to make sure that gets done the right way.
Right.
I'll
Second.
put the screen back up. Okay, seconded by Gordon. All those in favor, Gordon,
Hi,
Rob?
I'm a no, same
Discussion
reason as
first.
last year.
Okay,
We need to make progress on the excursion fairs.
and John?
Yes, I just want to say one thing is that, it's been 5 years since we did this. And I want to commend Mark and his group, Courtney, in the amount of work and effort that they did and giving us these options. It's just very well thought out, and it makes it easier for us to make that decision. So thank
Gotta
you.
give back
I'll
some
go
crumbs. Gotta give some crumbs back to the locals. That's the plan. John?
John, yes.
Yes, and Joe
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. So that's 4-1, Sean.
Yeah, got it. Thank you now.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's a question. What was the 4-1? 4-1 for, who was the one?
Rob voted against it for his,
All right.
he's got, we have a guy over here like that on planning.
I'm not gonna ask what that
I'm
means.
used to it's all local stuff. So anyway.
I want to buy more too.
The most important thing about this is the exercise and the transparency of how this is all done now is so broken down. It never was like this a long time ago. This is good.
Yeah.
And it's important, like Rob, when we talk about, okay, the school kids on the boat getting a discount. Okay, so you add up all those dollars for the year, would you say, oh, well, we don't need them? No, that we're making money even though we're not, because the boat is not full. right?
I
You see what I
totally-
mean?
I totally understand that, and
It's complicated to talk about it. That's why I bring up Fenway and all the other things, like the bleachers aren't the same price, but we still need those seats. You know, it's just, it isn't
my vote
a
is not
simple
my
analysis.
vote is not against the concept of the excursion fair. I want to make that totally clear. It's
Yeah.
really about trying to keep the alignment so that it's still within the reasonable range and the contributions are proportional. That's my point.
Yeah, and I hear you, and you got to live here to know about these things. It's an unwritten rule. I don't know what else to tell you. So anyway, okay, so we'll move to old and new business. Anyone have anything to add or talk about that's not on the agenda?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say thank you to Mark for coming over. We had about 21 people over there. They asked some very pertinent questions, and it really went very, very well. And thank both of you, both Mark and Courtney for coming over, and also to commend the staff on the Vineyard with Lee and his group over there for this past weekend. It was a mess over there, and I came off this morning, and Woods Hole was like trying to run through a maze to get out of there with all the cars that were down there trying to get over to the Vineyard. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Yep, Bob, go ahead. I see you.
Well, yeah, as part of it, I did want to, initially I put down that I want to thank all the crews and on board the vessels and the terminals during this nor'easter, and you know, being as diligent and trying to make sure that as many people could get to the destination as possible, and appreciate the public's understanding that there's certain conditions that our vessels can operate in, and that was part of it. But I did actually end up having something that I have to add to my notes as one final item. Yesterday, as you may have heard, the crew of the MV Island Home on its transit from Vineyard Haven to Woods Hole spotted a person in the water outside of Great Harbor in Woods Hole. The crew immediately took action for a man overboard and notified the Coast Guard. Captain Frostholm, along with pilot Furtado and Captain Trainee Fresh, maneuvered the vessel while crew members as well as passengers attempted to keep the person in sight. Conditions at the time were, to say the least, less than ideal, with winds over 30 miles an hour and 6 to 8 foot seas. The MV Island Home prepared to launch the rescue boat, but prior to that, the Coast Guard was on scene. The Island Home remained on scene until no further assistance could be provided. Thanks and appreciation to the crew of the Island Home for their quick actions, which ultimately resulted in a positive outcome. And also finally, many thanks to the passengers on board who assisted in the attempts to locate the person. So this ended up having a good outcome, but you know, under the conditions, the crews did what they're trained to do, and they should be commended for it. So.
Excellent.
Thank you, Bob. That's an amazing story, and I really appreciate you sharing that. And hats off to the crew.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough conditions out there as it was. At that point, it's just the Island Home and the Nantucket were operating because of the conditions, and for them to after a long stressful day to have spotted that and to take the actions that they did, again, they to be commended.
Thank you so much. And it was, I watched local news this morning, and it was well said. Like, there wasn't any misinformation and confusion. It was actually very simple the way they had it on Fox Boston. I don't have anything I want to bring up because I think we kind of covered it all, even though it was in the agenda. There's a lot of that stuff is sort of new, mixed into some of this stuff. So I think I'm in good shape as far as that. So we'll open up to anyone that has anything else, or we'll go to public comment. You guys all set? Sean, is anyone on that wants to move over?
Well, if anyone has any public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon. And I will start with Oki.
Hi, good morning. I'm just gonna ask if there are any additional details on how the person fell overboard just from yesterday's incident. There's been kind of varying accounts of people saying that person fell overboard or jumped overboard. So trying to see if there are any additional details that be said this time or whatnot.
Not at this time. We're still trying to put together this sequence.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Beth.
Go ahead, Beth.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. A couple questions. Are we still slated for the Monomoy to be in the water on January 1st? I know
right
it's
now-
day 14 of the shutdown, but we would have had to have this well planned before the shutdown for January 1st. Are we still slated for January 1st?
But right now, we're undergoing no plan review of the final stability incline test. So until that date is released, the entire Marine Safety Center is in furlough. So right now, until that date is known, we cannot answer that question.
Okay, so what's the contingency in the budget for removing the depreciation expense? If it's not in the budget on January 1, because that's going to take a hit on that budget.
If we know between now and the board meeting, we can make that
Uh-huh.
adjustment, but right now we're assuming that it's gonna be in the budget, and if it isn't in there, then we'll come in below on depreciation, for the year.
Okay, and is it a correct assumption that everyone on the Port Council received the updated budget this week and reviewed it with all the corrections, with the fuel corrections and everything? Because you just approved a budget that I want to make sure that everyone on this telephone reviewed carefully and approved, because there were some corrections that Mark and I discussed that needed to be made. I haven't received an updated copy. Did you all receive an updated copy since the meeting in the Vineyard last week? And did you review it?
So Beth, I'll take the first part. I sent out an updated version to everyone last Friday after
Okay.
On the meeting, and those mapping issues on the Monomoy were addressed.
Good.
As far as the fuel lubricants and the fuel, even though the original budget had it in the bottom line,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
could adjust on the line items.
Okay, good. And is that available for us too, by the way, Mark? Is that on the
I
website
believe
now?
it's in the packet that's available right now.
Yeah,
Is it the packet? Okay, the revised packet. Okay, I'll
Yep.
look for it after Friday. Okay. And then my
And thank you for pointing that out to us, Beth. We appreciate that.
okay, and my last question, well, frankly, it was a surprise that somebody like me would point that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would,
No,
my last
we-
question, well, not you guys, Mark, I'm pleased. My last question is, there were two requests that were made very specifically at the budget meeting on the Vineyard that seem to have some substantial support for. One is the R99 fuel, and the other is just a portion of the R99 fuel. And the other is a careful review of the advertising budget. Were those two things undertaken since the meeting and before you guys approved this budget right now? The advertising specifically is the 1.3 million.
Because the meeting got done Thursday night, at 8:30, the
Yeah.
R99, we're finalizing that right now, and then we'll bring that to the board on the R99. We're looking at the average usage last year compared to this year, because it doesn't
Okay.
have as much energy stored in it, so we'll be bringing that up, and how much the differential be, do we have to use more of it? And in the advertising budget, we're still looking at some of those adjustments, but no adjustments were made in the advertising budget from Thursday night to Friday when this was published.
Okay, does anyone on the Port Council share any concerns about the advertising budget, or is that just something you guys are okay with?
That's been, sorry.
I'm sorry, Greg. On the Vineyard, we are concerned, Mr. Malcolm, myself, and Mr. Cahill, we're in the process of wanting to meet with the Chamber of Commerce and the 3 Down Island business associations to see what their views might be on the advertising budget as such. And we haven't set up a meeting date yet, but we're in the process of doing that.
Does that mean the 1.3 million is standing? Sorry, Mr. Lowe, I know you're.
No, it's okay. Yep.
At this point in time, that we have, at this point in time, yes.
I mean, Mark, just, historically, we've talked about this for years, like the sign in Route 93, when you come out of the tunnel, the fast boat, like that got brought up years ago as like, well, do we really need that? How much does that cost? There's
It's
been a lot-
40,000 a month, just so
There
you know.
hasn't been, okay.
Sorry.
That's great. So, this is where, there's certain things that, I don't personally think we should necessarily do, but this is not the first time this has been brought up, but at the same time, I think it needs to be looked at more closely and with a more serious sharpening of the pencil. So
if I may, Mr. Chair, for
Yep.
the board meeting, what we'll do is we can break out, like we do for the IT expense, what the historical marketing budget has been from, for the last 5 years.
And if I may, Mark, some of the advertising stuff that we do is sort of old-fashioned advertising versus today's sort of internet, sort of, online type advertising. And I think that we have to look at it from that perspective as well. Like, there used to be flyers at hotels and things that, like, we really, I don't know how much that stuff costs. I'm just saying that I think a review of advertising itself is warranted, regardless of whether it's something that we've traditionally done or not. So,
Just
Right.
to, not to get too into the weeds, Nat, but
Yep.
every year when we know what our budget figure is, we annually review the mix of print versus digital, and have been trending more in the digital direction. There are still some big print spends like the billboard that collectively we have felt are worth, hanging on to, but we look at that every year. So
Yeah.
there are no assumptions as far as what we're gonna do in the upcoming year. That's a constant review and adjustment each year as we know what the budget figure is. And just, as I know, and some people know, more than 60% of the advertising budget goes to that fast ferry trip, especially the same day round trip, because that is where we have direct competition. Less than, an incredibly small percentage of it is for the Vineyard. I think the only direct Vineyard advertising we do is the guidebook that the chamber puts out, and then the middle portion of it, roughly 30% is advertising the islands and not the Vineyard or Nantucket specifically. So most, more than half of it goes to advertising the same day round trip on the fast ferry on this side versus anything on the Vineyard side. And it's all looking at passenger traffic, nothing for vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Beth, your hand's back up.
Just one last point on that. I pulled all the invoices for advertising from 2023, 2024, and 2025. And I just want to be clear, I'm not seeing what we're saying here. And I think I'm encouraging you all to do the same. You can probably get them easier than I can. But there's a PR firm, we're paying $144,000 a year to a PR firm. And I'm not really, I think you need to, some of these details, again, need to be delved into, and because it's very, it's easy once you get your hands on the materials. But I'm just encouraging everyone to take a sharper pencil, especially to advertising. There's other areas, but advertising was one that several people were keen on. Thank you.
Okay. John, is there anyone else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Anyone have any final thoughts before we motion to adjourn?
Good meeting.
Good. I agree. Yep.
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, John. So, Gordon,
Aye.
Rob, you're muted. That's okay. I see your lips moving.
In your eye.
like the song. John,
Yes. Hey, yeah, aye.
Joe,
Aye,
and chair votes aye. Thank you so much, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
staff.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody.